it's very abrupt. It's just kind of stops, and then we're kind of live. That's it. We're now live. Hello, everybody on LinkedIn. I'm delighted.
I thought you were about to say I'm Mark Gaisford.
No.
My name's Mark
Hi,
Gaisford.
my name's Mark Gaisford. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us. We're joined by Rob. I'll introduce him in a little second. You've gone to comment straight away. Yeah, okay. I'm not very organised with these things. Thanks ever so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. This is not going to be an hour. This is probably more likely to be about half an hour. Liv and I have made a lot of noise just recently about our transition from sort of working traditionally into working anytime, anywhere, and also working 30-hour weeks as well. So far, so good. But we're very, very clear that this wouldn't have been possible for us in our business without a very, very key piece of software. And that piece of software is called Forecast, which is our project management software. Rob is from Forecast, and you're currently in New York, I think, aren't you, Rob?
I am, yeah. So it's currently 8:01 a.m.
It's 4 a.m. Did you say?
Yeah, I woke up at about 4. I'm trying to stay on UK hours because I have meetings early in the morning, but and we're just super busy right now, so I don't want to really. I can't unfortunately adjust to the 30 hours a week that you guys somehow manage to be more efficient. But yeah, so
we're trying hard.
Really, really appreciate you guys including me.
No, you're well.
I know that this is a topic that you feel super passionate about, so
we really do. Yeah,
happy to be able to join.
Yeah, no, brilliant. So, guys, if you've got any questions at all about this topic, we are prepared to be challenged. I guess should we just give the quick backstory on this?
Yeah. Do you want to? Because I mean, we also we started using Forecast before we moved to a work anywhere, anytime policy. So we haven't just recently started using Forecast for this reason. We've actually implemented it. How long have we had Forecast now?
Probably 4 or 5 months, I guess.
Yeah,
it's actually funny. I remember talking to you guys the last time. Well, I think the first time we spoke, I was also in New York. Which was, I think, in December. So yeah, probably about 5-6 months.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't know whether it's worth leading with the story of how we've got to work anywhere, anytime, or
go for it,
or the forecast.
Yeah, well, both. I mean, I think so. From our perspective, we were as I think you do. You're looking around for the best way of managing your projects so that you can keep track of everything. Liv's shall I go down this road? Liv's a technophobe, and so pen and paper were the ideal solution for this.
But then, obviously, as you're growing a team and you're scaling the business, you need to have good project management software in place. We've tried. I don't know if we can.
All of them.
Can say the names.
All of the ones.
Can we say the names as if we're on like Good Morning Britain or something? So we tried Trello, Asana, Monday, Planner. We'd literally tried all of them, didn't we? And what would happen is we'd use them for a few weeks. We wouldn't use them properly. We'd faff about with it all. Oh, it's just dreadful. And then we found Forecast. Forecast was actually recommended to us.
It was, yes, by the guys at Finally, actually, also in Canterbury, where we are.
Yeah.
So we saw some posts from those guys about it, and we thought, well, we've tried everything else. Why not try this one? And so we kind of did. And
me as a technophobe, I just got to grips with it straight away, which says a lot.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Better than pen and paper, then.
Better than pen and paper. Yeah.
And I think
Finally actually recently helped us with our entire website redesign. Did a fantastic job.
Yeah, they're really good. They're really cool guys, actually. Love Steve and Rob and the guys over at Finally. So I think that gave us the sort of platform for us to be able to say, well, I mean, the story then goes that Liv was kind of on at me saying we should do 4-day week, and so I was kind of open. Well, first of all, I was very closed against this thing because I'm of a certain generation that says that you put in the hours and you get the work done. And eventually, I kind of capitulated and gave in and said, okay, let's talk.
Well, you did a lot of research into So I think we both researched the 4-day week.
Yeah.
And then in typical you fashion, you got obsessed with the idea of productivity and you researched all these different things around productivity, Parkinson's law. That's probably worth going into a little bit.
Yeah.
And then that's how we came to the conclusion of work anywhere, anytime.
Exactly. I think you just go to, I think, the 4-day week thing. Oh, look, so my dog is about to, what are you doing? We're on the live. You can't get
My
involved.
dog's actually being weirdly well behaved.
I know, it's usually the other way around, isn't it? So yeah, you kind of go down this route. Once you start looking at the concept of 4-day week, to my mind, you start questioning, well, why? What's the point? Where are we going with this? And you ultimately end up at the words productivity. And then you suddenly realise that, listen, a 4-day week might suit a certain bunch of people, but it doesn't suit everybody.
It doesn't address people's individual productivity issues, I would say. I mean, for example, you work best 7 a.m. till about 3 p.m. You then dip sort of 3 till 5 because your brain's turned off because you've already done a full day. So the 4-day week doesn't benefit you in that way.
Yes.
And so I think that's where the questions kind of came about.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, I think we kind of introduced a 4-day week, and week 1 was dreadful for me because it doesn't work for me. I don't that's not the way I operate. And so that I went down this big rabbit hole that was, okay, well, let's really look into this. And the inevitable outcome of that was actually the true flexibility is work anywhere, anytime. And us as a management team adapting to and working out how that works. And fundamentally, not, everyone comes at this from the employee angle, and I totally get that, because it's, for mental health, for all those great reasons, it really works for employees. But we run a business, and profit is the driver of that business. So it's got to work for our clients as well. And I think it's an important caveat for us that 99.9% of the work we do is not reactive. It's planned. So to be able to go down this road of work anywhere, anytime works for us as a business. It's easy to implement for us because pretty much everything is planned. And I've had discussions with other people around, those people that are sort of on the front line, their service, they're the people right at the coalface, and it is difficult to sort of do that more work anywhere, anytime model there. For us, it was relatively simple to initiate, so we've gone with it.
And I think where forecast came in to making this really effective is it helped us understand how long tasks take to complete. So we'd estimate how long tasks would take. We'd then input time, so we'd have an actual evidence of how long things take, and then we can then utilize people based on that, and we can make the 30-hour week work as well, because we know specifically how long each thing takes.
Yeah. So before I hand over to Rob then, because I know we've talked for a long time, guys, if you've got any questions at all about...
When do you want to do questions? We've got a few.
Yeah, we've got a few coming in already.
In a bit.
Yeah, work anytime, anywhere, 30-hour week, any of that kind of stuff. Get your questions in, and we will all collectively try and answer as many of these as possible. Question for you, Rob. Was sort of the marketing agency world front and center when Forecast was designed? Is that the sort of strategy behind it?
It's a great question. So actually, originally we had more of our customers coming from IT consultancies and IT services companies. And what we realized quickly is that can also be, the way that it's designed is also very applicable to agencies among several other verticals. So we're actually in the process of dissecting the platform to also be able to use Forecast and get the financial value that you guys do from all the budgets and all those pages without even time tracking. So that'll open up doors for us for, literally internal projects and every type of company in the world. Yeah.
No, fine.
So it's kind of like evolved, I would say. Agencies obviously a big focus, but not the only.
Yeah, no, fine. Okay, listen, let's start answering some questions then. So, Gary, regarding deadlines, how would a 30-hour week work? I assume flexibility would come into force. I think the principle of 30-hour week, from my perspective, is, as Liv just touched on there, Parkinson's law, which would state that work will take over the time that you give it for completion. And so if you give someone a 3-hour task and you give them a week to do it, that task is just going to grow and grow and grow in complexity. And so by restricting the number of hours that people work, we become tighter at getting those tasks done, because otherwise, if we didn't control those hours and we said, look, here's your task, go away and do it, then inevitably that's going to creep, and it will creep into a 40, 50, 60 hour week, because people build up the complexity of individual tasks. So that little added pressure point of saying, look, here's a task and we've got 30 hours in the week is a really important one, because otherwise people end up working really, really long hours on tasks that actually should take a lot shorter. And I think the other bit that we then add to that is do it when you are at your most productive, when your brain is on, and in a place where you can be productive and you find it stimulating and it's conducive to the work that you're doing.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. It's working when your brain works best. So you can meet deadlines faster, your ideas are stronger, you're delivering better work as well.
Exactly.
Just something to add there. It's funny because I think people look at hours as a way to determine like how hard people are working and how much, but really it's about like, what are the efficient hours? And if you segmented like efficient hours versus just hours in general, you'd see there probably be quite a parallel to the actual amount of hours that amount of work you're getting done, the efficient hours versus the amount of total hours you're working. One thing that really has actually helped me significantly is I worked with a coach who basically taught me about chunking time. So making sure that you're doing the things that you do best at the right times of day. So for example, for me, I'm way more operational in the morning than I am in the afternoon. So I try to chunk my time in the morning to do anything. If I need to be in a spreadsheet, like I want to do that in the morning. Because I know I'll be most efficient. I'll be able to get done twice as much as I would if it were the afternoon. And that's actually really helped me in figuring out how to actually make each hour I work significantly more efficient.
Yeah, exactly. I'm exactly the same as that as well. I think those, there can be certain tasks that you can do that are mundane, that are just literally sort of going through the motions, that you can do later on in the day when the brain's starting to switch off a little bit. But you're absolutely right. It's around when you need to be creative or when you need to be really on your A game, then you've got to do that at the times when your individual brain is at its best. For me, that's anything beyond 6 o'clock in the morning up until about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Other than that, I'm just pushing buttons for the sake of it. But I think equally as well, this whole sort of argument around presenteeism is really important here as well, because before we did this, I wouldn't leave the office until 5:30 in the afternoon. The reality is anything from 3:30 in the afternoon, I wasn't just unproductive. I was probably distracting everybody else because my brain had switched off. So actually, if people would have been really honest, they should have said, Mark, go away. You're actually distracting us now. But of course they don't. So now we're in a situation where we don't feel any guilt about leaving the office at that time. Everyone recognizes this is your prime time and others is later on in the day. So bugger off and let people get on with it. So
I think environment comes into play as well, because currently we're moving offices in about a month, but our current office is open plan. And so Frankie, for example, she's taken herself off today for an hour or two because she's just going to work in a cafe and have a coffee and just work alone and just sort of focus that way. So that's having the flexibility to do that as well.
Okay. One for you.
Does it not make it hard to schedule meetings in together if you're all working different hours over a shorter week? No, because we would prioritize there's a few ways to answer this question. Is the meeting necessary at all? Does everyone need to be in that meeting? I think they're probably the first things to ask yourself before you actually even think about scheduling the meeting.
Yeah.
If you do need to have this meeting, everyone will be there. Because if that's the priority, we're always going to prioritize what's important, client work and stuff like that. So it's always going to be working around stuff like that. So I think it's just a case of putting it in and people are there.
I think that is an important thing. So I've massively questioned the value of some meetings, and we've reduced the number of meetings radically because most of them are.
Yeah, but I'd say that's one of the biggest things that we've actually done, and we've not even done it that consciously. But you were going to do set up a Zoom call the other day, and I said to you, that doesn't need to be a Zoom call.
Exactly.
That just needs to be a phone call, 10 minutes. We don't both need to do it.
Yeah.
It's just changing those little habits.
It is. You just fall into the habits of doing this kind of stuff, I think. And
that's the problem with Zoom in general. It's like every time you want to talk to somebody about something, it doesn't need a 30-minute Zoom call. Literally, like, it could just be a quick 5-minute conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is, I think this is a COVID thing to a large extent, actually, because we can't meet face to face. We've now fallen into this trap of doing everything on Zoom, and of course, it takes longer. You've got number one, you've got to set up. I mean, I think I did a text post about this on LinkedIn the other day. What happened to the basic phone call? Because now we're all scheduling Zoom calls with everybody, and that's not necessary. It's not the
a
most
phone call
productive.
is about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
If you've just got a question or something like that, or an email, So
exactly.
It's so time saving to do that.
So I think the big thing here, Claire, is actually is it important to have a meeting? If it is, the other important part of this is that this whole thing is based around compromise.
Yeah,
so
that's the best way to
we can't and for example, the reactive work that comes in sometimes for us, which is very, very minimal, but we've got to react to it because clients are at the center of this. They pay our bills, they pay our salaries. So we do have to drop something and do something for a client sometime. It is around compromise.
That's it. We're offering flexibility to our team, and they're flexible in the way that they respond to stuff that we need to do as well.
Exactly.
So it is takes two to tango.
I think it's similar. If we're all working at times that work for us, especially if businesses have global teams, do you think there will be issues with planning calls where all the team can be present for project briefings? Again, I think it's pretty much the same answer as before. It is around compromise here as well. But I think it's interesting, this idea about global teams as well, because a lot of people have come through to us around the work any time specifically and said, well, how's that going to work? Well, when you've got global clients, actually it's advantageous because, like, for example, Rob's sitting in New York at the moment and it's 8 a.m. So having someone that working later into the evening actually is really good for those US clients, and you're an evening worker. Yep. I'm a morning worker, so actually you start to there's somebody available to talk to at a larger number of hours over a day. So but I think it is about compromise here, and I think I'd also question the value of certain meetings or whatever, and can it be communicated in a different way?
That's a good one.
This one I haven't read it.
So challenges with other project management tools. I think the kind of selling point of why we went with Forecast was the element of time, of adding in time and utilization. So it helped us plan our work internally and plan how utilized each individual person was with their workload. Whereas I think other project management tools kind of lacked that feature. Would you say?
Yeah. And I think
it was more just a to-do list, whereas this is more.
Go, Rob. Do you want to talk about the utilization?
Well, I think
that's game changer.
Yeah, sure. I think the ones that you guys are using, I think Asana, Monday, Trello, really good tools for project and task management. But in addition to those, you would need a spreadsheet to actually see what your resources looked like, how utilized they were. And then when something changes in one of those, then you have to manually change your spreadsheet, and you're kind of working like two separate things. So visibility is very difficult. When you're using Forecast, all that stuff's connected. So if something changes with your projects, it's going to be affected in your resourcing. You're going to understand how that impacts your utilization right away, totally automated, versus having to kind of manually shift around.
Yeah.
I would assume that's what you guys are talking about in terms of the pain you were feeling.
Yeah, it's been a game changer for us. I think this piece around utilization is really, really important. But there's some issues that come up as a result of this as well. So we aim for 85% utilization. That means that if we've got someone working a 30-hour week, we want 85% of those 30 hours utilized with productive work. And that could be a mixture of client work, or it could be a mixture of internal work, so work for RedSprout, but it's productive work. And so so on the positive side, you then start looking at how utilized, how productive you were before you started implementing this kind of strategy, and inevitably you're going to find that you're more productive as a result of doing this. The downside for us actually has been that you become so task driven, you've almost got to add in, as Jez behind me would say, morale time. so morale. So it is that, because you become so sort of hooked into being productive, you kind of then forget that you're also human beings and you want to build relationships and all that kind of stuff, like, as well.
We've drastically reduced the amount, because we've reduced our meetings so much, we've reduced the amount that we're sort of chatting to each other, because our meetings were so unproductive before. Because we'd talk a bit about the work, the client, and then we'd spiral off into different directions, and we'd kind of lacked that now. I mean, yesterday,
I can't imagine you guys doing that.
Yeah, you can imagine, what we're like. So internally, it could be a bit of a nightmare. Even yesterday, we had a bit of a meeting, which we haven't had for a few weeks, to be fair, an internal meeting. You started going off on a tangent. So right, enough now. Right, I'm getting up. Enough now.
She literally stood up and said, "That's it, meeting over."
Over now. Right, no more.
So yeah, I think you can become a little bit, not obsessed is the wrong word, but you can become very focused in a very different direction. And it's important to understand that actually that unproductive time, that downtime, is really important as well, because that's the relationship build, it's the all that kind of stuff.
And we did all go to the pub last week.
We did all go to the pub last week as well, yeah. Okay, so
let's keep the morale.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay. In Finland, they want to implement the 6-hour working day and the 4-day working week. I think that this should be implemented in all countries. What do you think?
I think it shouldn't, and I've said this before, it shouldn't be just a blanket approach. That's not going to suit all businesses. That's not going to suit all teams, and they're certainly not going to suit all individuals. You're still telling people how to work and how best, how when you're still giving them the time. You know what I'm trying to say? You're still telling them work, and that might not suit some people. It might not suit parents. It might not suit early risers, night owls. In our industry it's different. We work in marketing, everything's very creative, and we want to work when people are most creative. I get that that's not the same for all industries, but I think that applies here. You're still telling people something. You're taking a blanket approach to it, which is just not. I think it needs to be done on an individual basis in terms of your business, your team, your clients, the work you do. So that's what I think about it.
I think you're limiting the ability for people to be the best versions of themselves.
Exactly.
And when you have something that's so mandated like this, I mean, that's 24 hours in a week. You have to think that at least eight of those hours for many people are going to be completely unproductive. So then all of a sudden you're looking at, okay, there's really 16 hours of productive hours a week. Versus if you just give people the freedom, people are going to be able to do the best work when they want to do their best work.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think it's spot on. And this is exactly the route that I went down when Liv started talking about 4-day week. I found it was still too prescriptive. It was trying to sort of bottle me and put me into a category, into this is how we now work. Well, that defeats the whole object in my mind of going down the route of doing a 4-day week, because isn't that in its essence supposed to be adding more flexibility? And now I still feel boxed in by this new system that someone has dictated that I should work. And as soon as you start thinking in those terms, you do go straight to this route of, okay, look, everyone is an individual. Everybody works in a different way, at a different time, at different speeds, blah, 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 blah. And therefore work anytime, anywhere is the answer. And I think the reason that this is so radical and people find it so difficult is because it presents a different problem for management. I now don't control, and I use that word really, really carefully, what is going on. People are responsible and autonomous for the output that they're achieving and when they're achieving that. But I feel, as a manager, I feel less control of the team, which gets us back to this zone of primary school kids, because our primary school kids, when they go to school, we tell them what is best for them and when it is best to work. And I totally get that. We know best as adults. We then send them to university and we say, actually, guys, it's over to you. Be more autonomous. You start determining when you work best. And then they come into the working world and they're back at primary school. We say, no, you'll work between 9 and 5:30. And that's the way to go. So it's this control element that as leaders of businesses, we've got to get over this hang up and hire the people that are good, trust them to do the job well, and let them bloody well get on with it. That's my attitude to this. And there's a lot of stages along the way there. If you've hired the wrong people, then get rid of them. You've got to get the right people on the bus.
If you don't trust people, why are you still paying them?
Precisely. So yeah, there's a lot to that question. Keep your questions coming. We've probably only got 5 minutes or so left, guys. But if there are any burning questions, because we don't want to keep you for too long. So if there are any burning questions, do get them in, and we will answer them as many of them as we can possibly answer. What's this one? I'm aware that for certain companies, maybe we can adjust certain things. My point is that people need to have enough time for sleep, for spending time with family and friends, for gym sessions.
Yeah.
I agree with all of that. I agree with all of that. I think my point is still, I guess, that we run a business. So there is this not divide, but I think there are two audiences here. One is the employees and looking after people well and treating them with maturity and responsibility. But there is also this other audience, and that is your clients. They are the ones that are paying the bills. So there's got to be this balance between what is best for the individuals and what is best for the clients. I think my contention here is that those aren't actually, they don't divide. They're not at opposite ends. They are actually intrinsically connected, because if we become more productive and our output increases, that is massively to the advantage of our clients. So these two things really do tie in very well together. Are you going to answer that?
I think also with that, like you guys said, you're.
Sorry, am I
Go,
going?
Rob.
No, like you guys, just finishing up that point, like you guys.
Oh, we lost Rob's internet connection.
Like you guys were saying, you guys are working, what, 30 hours a week now?
Yeah. Oh, we've definitely lost Rob's internet connection. Either that, we've lost our own internet connection. Whichever one it is, let us know in the comments who's not talking, who's frozen up. Lloyd, morale. It's important, Lloyd. I swear to God, it really is important. Morale. Every time I say the word, Jez pipes up morale.
Our central communication hub. Well, everything that we do is within forecast. So all our client work, all our deadlines, and all our internal stuff as well. That's all within forecast. We also use Slack.
Yeah. So I've still got an eye on Rob's feed, but he's still frozen. So if he comes back, I'll bring him back into the conversation. Oh, sorry. Right. But Bernard, what law did you mention earlier that you researched where person takes a week to do 3 hours? So this is Parkinson's law. If you if you look at it online, it'll explain that work. I can't remember the phrase now. Work increases to basically to the time that you've given it for its completion. That's the right thing. So 3-hour task can quite easily become a 6, 10, 12-hour task because you've got a long time to complete it, and it grows in complexity. Whereas actually the task could have been done in 3 hours. So this is this concept of restricting people's hours of work so that projects and tasks don't grow ridiculously in complexity. So so that answers that one really. I think Rob is back.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
We lost you there for a minute, mate. We lost you. So, Greg, are you assuming that everyone is working as individuals? Not sure I understand.
So he said before, how do you envision working as a team or partner on work? Are you assuming everyone is working as individuals?
So I still don't understand the question.
So we do work as a team, but also individually.
Is that the answer to that? Sorry, sure. Sorry, Greg. I'm not sure I understand it. Yeah. So anyway, there we go. Rob, have you frozen again, or are you just very still? He's frozen again. He has frozen again, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's frozen again.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Finishing this up. I think we've said this on all of the content that we've put out about work anytime, anywhere. We haven't got all the answers. We're sharing the journey as we go along. We're constantly coming up against things that would challenge it. I think it's fair to say. Yeah,
definitely. And I think a big part of it has been communication, and we're learning a lot about different ways to communicate, how best to communicate, what all the considerations around that. So it really is a big learning curve at the moment, but we're loving it.
We certainly haven't got all the answers, and we don't claim to. We just basically wanted people to join us on this journey. To see, where it goes, and we're as I say, we're learning all the time. So listen, thank you for your time. We'll call it an end to there. It's been great having you on, but look, I think he's back. Hold on, let's just get him back to say goodbye.
How sweet.
New York internet, Rob.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
No, don't worry. Listen, we just yeah, exactly. Pleasure talking to you, sir, over in New York. I hope you get some sleep tonight after being up at a ridiculous time of the day. We will keep the content coming around work anytime, anywhere. If you want to, I can be salesy. So if you want to get more information about Forecast, and I would strongly recommend you do, if you're in that zone at the moment where you're questioning your PM software and it's not quite doing it for you yet, then please, I swear to God, get in touch with the guys at Forecast. We're not partnered, affiliated, we don't get kickbacks, there's nothing like that at all. We're just huge fans of this software. And I have to mention, from the very, very first interaction with these guys, EB, if you're watching, love you.
Oh, yeah.
From the very, very first interaction, the training is exceptional. Absolutely
They're
exceptional.
so hands-on. It's great.
Often, especially us two, who've got attention spans of a gnat. We will literally just, oh God, it's more training.
Yeah, we normally hate that.
Literally were hanging. Honestly, we were hanging on every word during the whole training for Forecast as well. It's invaluable to go through that process, and we love it. So if you're looking at PM software, if you're looking at a new solution for managing what's going on in your business, please do get in touch with Rob or any of the guys at Forecast, because we would highly recommend. So thanks for your time, thanks for your attention. We're back live next Wednesday for our normal Rage Against the Mundane. I'm going with it. I'm changing the name of it. It's not going to be the
I love it.
Rage Against the Mundane. So we'll see you next week, and Rob, see you soon, mate.
See you later.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Good to see you.
Bye.
See you soon.